Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk ELT. It's just me today. I'm going to talk about classroom management because, well, I'm starting to get my peeves are being pet more frequently than I would like to admit. So, I got some notes here and here. I'm kind of all over the place today with my slides and screens. I got multiple screen, so you know how it goes. But welcome, welcome, and here we go. My whole deal, my whole opinion on this is that classroom management starts before the students arrive. Well, I would say that I have a problem in planning. And that I actually enjoy planning, but I think that maybe I have unusually high levels of anxiety, which leads me to pre-plan lots of things and even have that. I don't know if anybody else has this. I do it. I run through scenarios in my head. However, that little nervous habit of mine has turned into quite an asset, actually, because now when I am ready for my classes, usually I've already gone through every possible disaster that could possibly happen. So, my first thought on classroom management is usually when things go wrong, when things are not happening the way that they should. Now, there's exceptions to this rule, but my general feeling is people say, oh my God, how do I stop students from doing this or stop students from doing that? And it's more of a reactive position as opposed to, which I very much am a proponent of, being proactive and thinking about these things before they happen. So, management, for me, classroom management isn't what you do when things go wrong. It's how you prepare before so that they don't. New teachers, people who are going through like programs and things like that, they often think of classroom management as like the in the moment during the lesson. How do I correct behavior? So questions I've had actually recently, I've written them down. What do I do if students won't listen? Oh, got a problem there. What if someone won't participate? And how do I handle a talkative group or someone who's completely silent? And all of these are super valid concerns. All of these happen to even the most experienced of teachers. But classroom management, again, starts before the class even starts. Before you even pop open that screen, slide open the door, and walk into either the virtual or physical classroom, it happens beforehand. So, classroom management, in my conception of it, again, this is my podcast, my conception. You can take these little nuggets as wisdom or trash, is that routines set the standard in your classroom, meaning you want to model your expectations. If you are always late, then your students are going to be okay with coming in late because, well, the teacher doesn't start on time or isn't here, a couple minutes early to get everything set up. So also for me to walk in a few minutes late and kind of disrupt the flow of the class, because a lot of teachers get frustrated with that. Listen, if you're not there, then, you're not really modeling the best of behavior. I'm not saying that it's always your fault. I'm saying that we are the models and we do what we want the students to do as well. Clarity of instructions. Instructions are a thing. It's starting to become a thing with me because I'm realizing that most people are not capable of making really clear, concise instructions about what they want students to do. And I'm talking about range of experiences of teachers. So I'm not talking only about, new teachers struggle with this. No, okay, new teachers do struggle with this. But I also think that experienced teachers struggle with this because sometimes they get into a habit. They think, well, for the most part, people are doing what I want them to do, and they're not really kind of checking themselves. So clarity of your instructions, not making them too complex, giving the instructions that correlate with the activity that's on the board or that's in the book or that's on the worksheet or whatever you're doing for the day. The level of complexity, making sure that you're grading it to the level of the students. Instructions are very important for them. They need to know what they're going to be doing, and they need to be confident that they're doing exercises, activities, projects, whatever you're doing in class correctly. And also, one thing that I've seen most of the time is people tend to narrate what they're doing or have just kind of maybe a bad term that I should rephrase or find another way to say it, but I'm going to use it anyways. They have like oral diarrhea. They just kind of like keep it just nonstop. They just keep talking. One, it increases unnecessary teacher talking time, but also at the same time, the students don't need to know 2 or 3 steps ahead what they're going to be doing with it. They need to know what they're doing right now. That's what students need to know. We don't need to give them the whole plan. We don't need to tell them what we're going to do today with all of the nitty-gritty details. No. Like right now, I just need you to focus and do this. It doesn't matter if they're A1 to C1. Like, they still just need to know, like, what am I doing right now? What do I need to do? How much time do I have? So I can, plan my time accordingly. You don't give them a time limit, it's also a problem. If you give them an activity and say, okay, you're going to do true and false, you're going to do matching, and then you don't actually give them any time, they're going to be la-di-dying through it, and then you're going to be like, hurry up, it took so much longer than... No, you got to give them a time limit. Listen, you got 10 questions. It's, I don't know, a matching activity. You're matching the pictures to the new vocabulary items we're going to be working on today. You got 10 pictures. I'm going to give you 4 minutes so they can read the words and try and figure out what picture is correlating, and then they could, work amongst themselves or whatever you want to do. Again, just make your instructions clear. Flow. I had a rant. like none of my things are rants. Literally every piece of content, anything that I put out there, and just me in general is just like a rant. So I had a rant the other day with one of my training groups because of contextualization. I'm such a snob about this. Not snobbish, that's a bad word. I think my standards are very high when it comes to contextualization. Not because I want to be a hard ass, that's not the intention, but actually because contextualization, I've seen the power of it. And when lessons flow from stage to stage and it just seems logical, and sometimes teachers are like, wow, this is amazing, like from start to finish, like everybody was following you. It's like, yeah, that's the context, dude. That's the underlying message of whatever you're trying to teach. It needs to be within a context and a scenario. I've done another podcast on this because I remember saying this, that the context is not a theme, the context is a scenario. Yeah, so make it relatable, make it something realistic. This is a scenario in which you would use this language, or you would hear this language, or you would have to interact in a specific way. And that's what a context is. And it makes it super, super clear for our students, because then they see it in the lead-in, they activate their little schemata about that type of scenario, because most people have been in most kind of scenarios, you know what I mean? With the exception of kids, but you're teaching them stuff within their realm, so it should be relatable. And then that you go into some sort of input or presentation, or I don't know, pre-teaching, or you set a task, or whatever you do afterwards, but everything has to build on each other. So when I talk about like the flow of the lesson, did you think through, sit down, hold your hand for a minute, be critical of yourself? Did you think it through? Or are you just going to go from activity to activity, be like, okay, next we're going to work on, when anybody says that, I have a visceral reaction. Okay, the next activity, you're going to, like think about what you're going to say in between things, in between stages. If I'm moving from one to the next, there has to be some sort of connection. Give them the connection. I mean, not in teacher terminology, but give them the connection. What does that mean? So if they've been looking at, what was the context? Oh, we were talking about text messages. And someone wanted students to produce a text message, kind of complaining about your day or whatever. And I was like, this is a great context because I think in general, most people have a person that you send a message to, or you send memes to, or you some sort of like escape valve, that you send them something about how your day went. Like if you had a bad day, you usually vent to someone. I vent to my husband. I have a couple friends that I vent to. It depends on how, well, it depends on the context of it because, my husband doesn't really care about teaching stuff, but I have two really good teacher friends. Those two really good teacher friends hear from me all the time. Three, four. Yeah, I got four people that those are in my circle all the time that I'm just sending. Anyway, okay, back to the lesson. So context of it, he wanted them to write a text message using specific language about like a bad work day, things that like pop up in your day, which is great. It's actually it's a great lesson, to be honest. I thought it was fantastic. But the context was completely missing, and it just frustrated me because I saw the potential and how amazing that lesson could have been. It wasn't that the students weren't engaged, they were participating, but were they really excited? Not so much. So then he was going through and I was like, well, okay. So then I had a rant and we were doing training. So I was like, let's reverse engineer this whole lesson because that's typically how I do things because that's how my brain works. If it's not how your brain works, hear me out. So I was like, you want them to write a text message, but they need to know what a text message looks like. They need to know the language in the text message, appropriacy. Should I use this? Should I use that? There's a lot of acronyms. We use emojis all the time. And so then all of the stages leading up to writing that text message should be about all of those things, right? So they should have seen a couple of models because it's very easy to do some controlled practice and less controlled practice with language and, figuring out appropriacy when you can make things, when you can kind of shorten phrases, when you can use emojis to represent things or not. So you could do a couple practice activities that they actually see a text in. One that they could then apply some language that they are learning and into the text messages. And then before that, when you do clarification, you should clarify with some sort of text. Do you know what I mean? So that they see it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that it has this significance, it's that meaning, and blah blah blah. And so they can start associating things. And so then you can start the whole lesson was like, who do you talk to when you have a bad day? And what kind of complaints do you usually have when you have a bad day? That's totally valid. I don't know. But then you start the lesson and it just follows this beautiful little flow and it's not interrupted because you've thought it through, and then you don't have classroom management issues because people aren't constantly having to reorient themselves to like, wait a second, what are we doing now? What's this activity? Oh, these are completely different examples, not talking about anything related to bad days, but it's just going off on different tangents. Oh, okay, cool. No, like set it up and make it flow so that the students are finally, when they get to the last stage, whether they have to speak or write or they have to do some sort of productive something or other, because we love, including productive stages in our lessons, let them get there and be like, oh yeah, I totally know how to, hang on, I got the best day. They're more focused on, let me tell you how bad my day was, using all of the stuff that we just saw, than, wait, what are we doing now? It's just a thought. Okay, then classroom management. So then I was talking about the routines that you have in class. See, tangents. Then there is like the tone and kind of, it's really the atmosphere that you create, the space that you create for your students. What you see is what you get. First of all, I'm professional. I will say that I am professional, but I'm not very, how do I Hang on, my hair is bothering me. Um, I'm not like a super formal person. Even in formal situations, I'm kind of just chilling and relaxed. I'm not, it just, there are certain scenarios where I'm hyper focused and I'm really doing things and stressed out a little bit, but for the most part in the classroom, yeah, okay. Feel like it's like I've the level of trauma that I've reached, I don't really react to much anymore, I guess. But I just don't really have that formality. So the tone and the atmosphere of my classroom, it doesn't have to be your classroom. Your classroom can be however you are. But my classroom is usually just chill and like, all right, this is what we're doing today. Cool. I'm on it. I like it. And let's go for it. And I just don't stress about students making mistakes because they do. That's kind of what they do. If they're not making mistakes, I don't think that they're learning. And so this kind of consistency of not having emotional peaks and valleys in your classroom, or inconsistent atmospheres where sometimes it's, like super high energy and then sometimes low. No, I mean, there's obviously ups and downs, but yeah, I would just say try and keep that relatively consistent, because if it is, then students they know what they're walking into. So what does this have to do with classroom management? Well, they know what to expect. And they're not constantly testing boundaries because they know what the boundaries are, because from day one, it's just consistent. Like, this is what we're going to do. Here's my expectations. I'm always going to give you clear instructions. And here's what we're always staying on task. You can always look for me if you need assistance, facilitation, all of that good type of stuff. Your lessons kind of flow, so they are focused on what's going on in the lesson, not what's happening on Instagram and picking up their phones. And the environment is an environment that they're going to thrive in, not an environment that they're panicking in, or that they don't know what to expect, like what kind of mood is Kelly going to be in today. That would be a really bad scenario. I think probably maybe in the beginning, not even in the beginning, like now technically it's the beginning of my career, like the first 5 to 7 years when I was teaching kids, like youngsters, not little ones, but I'm talking I don't know, 10 to 15. I might have been inconsistent at times. I had some personal things going on, some health things going on, and I was not good every day. And so I think that kind of translated into my classroom. Though I tried not to, I tried to be consistent with them. I just tried to always be fair with the kids. Whatever was the rule for one was the rule for all. There's no exceptions here. I'm treating you all the same. But also I know that I had some things for a year or two. I had some things going on. So, maybe I was not as consistent in the environment. That's on me, but nobody complained. But I'm just being hard. Maybe I'm being hard on myself. I don't know. Okay, so what can you do to have classroom management before students arrive? Well, plan how students move through the lesson. Really go through, where will they sit? Will they talk to each other? How are they going to talk to each other? How will they know when to start, when to stop? How do they know what exactly, again, maybe people don't do this, and maybe I'm a freak show, and that's a totally valid possibility. But I sit there and I play by play go through, okay, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to say that, and then they're going to do this, and blah, blah, blah. I do that in my head. I do that for other things too. I know it's actually a problem. I think it's a sign of anxiety, high anxiety. Anyways, I play through all the possible, all the plausible possibilities in my head of every single which way the things will go. Mental illness or not, it helps. You don't have to get to that level. But what I'm saying is, think about it. Think about it. Your lesson plan is not just filling out things, or if you have to do that for your school, or if you're doing a course or whatever. No, you got to think about what's the interaction here? What are they doing? You kind of have to decide who you are as a teacher. What's your baseline tone? Are you kind of a serious person? Are you dry and sarcastic? Are you a goofball? Are you, full of energy all the time? Are you kind of that strict teacher that has very specific expectations of what you want the students to? Whatever it is, I don't care. There's no good, bad. I mean, don't be too strict, because then I don't think people just in general, I don't think people enjoy that nowadays. But who are you as a teacher in terms of like your personality? It's just chaos. It's just squirrel on sugar energy, just running around. That's just kind of me. But chaotic yet chill. It's a very weird balance that I maintain because I get really excited about things. I love talking to students and I love being in the classroom. Like I genuinely, and this is something that people say to me, so I genuinely feel that energy comes out of me, is that I do love being in the classroom, and people are like, you clearly really enjoy teaching. Like, I have such a good time. If I didn't have a good time, I wouldn't be doing this as a profession. So yes, genuinely, I have a good time in the classroom. I like to joke a lot. I don't have lots of like high pressure situations. I'm not the type of person that's like, go, 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 go. It's like, okay, off you go, do your thing. I'll be around. I'm just that kind of teacher, but I do have like the peaks of like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Like, tell me more. I'm really, engaged with students because I like students. So yeah, so kind of decide where you are. You don't have to be like me. Like, I'm not saying that that's a model to follow at all. I'd probably actually not recommend it, but you figure out who you are, because that has to stay consistent. And think through kind of what you want. We'll put this in quotations as like silent signals, meaning things that if students are off task, they're not doing something, or you want them to kind of correct themselves or whatever, you've got your own unspoken language between you and the students. Like, I just give them a look. I have the thing is, I use it to my advantage that I have an extremely expressive face, and I usually show my emotions very obviously. I also have rosacea, so anytime I feel a strong emotion, my cheeks will get very red. But my eyebrows are constantly going up and down. I'm like Botox's nightmare, because it's just, I don't even think it will work on me, to be honest. I think it just would dissipate very quickly, because I'm very expressive anyways in my face. So if students are not doing something, I just kind of give them, my teacher look, or I'm like, and I just make noises at them. I know it's weird, but I make noises, but they know now. They're like, oh, and then they think about what they said and they try to correct themselves. So you kind of got to get that mutual understanding. If I give you a look and I know that you're, kind of off doing whatever you're not supposed to be doing, and I give you the look, they're like, yeah, okay. And then they go back to what they're supposed to be doing. So, again, teaching there's no perfection in teaching. It's a lot of practice and kind of figuring out who you are. But classroom management stuff, I think a lot of that happens before. The first thing that teachers need to do is figure out in their mind, like, go through it like a movie. See your lesson. How do you want it to go? Okay, so now that you know how you want it to go, how are your instructions? How are your setup? Are your materials kind of aligned with that? All of that good stuff. And then, how are you going to deliver those things? What kind of consistency can you provide in the classroom for students to know, oh, okay, this time we're being quiet, this time we're interacting, right now I need to be writing something down. You get into a groove, but a lot of classroom management stuff is actually planning. It has nothing to do with reacting in the moment. There's mini micro reactions in the moment for small corrections, but most of it is because you're providing a consistent environment, the atmosphere that you think works best for your learners. You're providing them with consistency in your attitude, your tone, the way that you interact with them. and you've had the foresight to think through your lesson and figure out how you want it to go. I think I made it through my notes. If I didn't, I'm sure I'll just say something on some others social media platform, ranting somewhere else. But anyways, that's my thoughts on classroom management, and I think that people should maybe focus less on delivery. If you have classroom management issues, focus less on your delivery and more on your planning. Those are my thoughts, and I will see you later.